All right. So we're going to start right now with the national anthem and the national prayer. So may I respectfully ask that we all rise for the national anthem, and then we'll start the national prayer. Thank you. The second stanza of the national anthem is our national prayer, and we'll recite it together. Go. O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the things to know, and the love and the honor faith to grow, and live just and true. Great lofty heights of faith, to build a nation where peace and justice. Thank you so much. Please be seated. You're all welcome once again to this North Central Regional Stakeholders Conference on the State of the Nation, organized by the Luxterra Leadership Foundation in collaboration with the Savannah Center for Diplomacy, Democracy, and Development. It promises to be an interesting time following the state dialogues that have happened, and this is the North Central Regional Meeting. My name is Inya Ode, and I'll be taking you through the proceedings for this particular opening ceremony. And of course, the Oga at the top of the Luxterra Leadership Foundation is our Executive Director. May I now respectfully hand over to him for his remarks. That's talking about Reverend Father George Ihusani. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Inya Ode. Inya Ode is the coordinator of our network and advocacy group. Earlier this year, in collaboration with the Savannah Center for Diplomacy and Development, we designed a project to do our own national dialogue. National dialogue that will come from the grassroots, that will not be government-driven. So we designed a program whereby there will be state interactions. So we had in each one of these states, we had 30 people gathered for a full day to discuss the issues of Nigeria and the way forward. That has happened in Kogi State, in Nasarawa State, in Benue State, in Plateau State, in Niger State, and in Kwara State. And the people you find here are 4 representatives from each one of these states. 4 elected delegates that came from each one of these states. And they are now here so that we can harmonize the demands and recommendations from each one of these states to have a North Central position on a number of the issues that are troubling our country. We have invited you, the guests here, to just get brief remarks and comments from you for 5-10 minutes, since you are all from North Central. So, by way of brief introduction before I hand over the microphone to each one of our guests, there's no gainsaying. every one of us can agree that the country is collapsing. Before now, when we say that the country is failing, it used to be with a lot of aggression. We get response from people in government to say, who says country is failing? Now, all the indices of a failing country is there. In fact, some people are even saying a failed state. But if not a failed state, we can at least confidently say the state is failing. In the midst of that failing state, we recognize that the majority, overwhelming majority of Nigerians want Nigeria, want us to remain as Nigerians. On account of the failures of those in authority, we now have non-state actors that have taken control in every direction. Non-state actors have taken control in the northeast. Non-state actors have taken control in the northwest, in the southeast, in the southwest, who are commanding mass populations to follow them. And populations are following them because of widespread discontent, widespread anger, widespread disaffection, widespread disappointment and distress. Official figures are in the 20s and 30s, but we know that perhaps 50% of Nigerians are unemployed. 50% of Nigerians are so unemployed that they are ready to hire themselves to anyone who can give them 1,000, 5,000, 500 naira. And they will go and kill. So the country is in serious distress. So we are reaching out to those who still believe in Nigeria. And like I said, there are many. People have come here from all the states of North Central. They accepted, and some have made sacrifices, like the people from Kwara. Serious sacrifices to be able to come here because of the distance and so on. They are here because they believe in Nigeria, right? They are here because they believe that there is something we can still do to save the sinking ship. Unfortunately, as many of us, as Savannah Center is doing what it can do, as Luke Stera is doing what we can do, as many of us are making our little efforts, those in charge of our affairs appear determined to sink the ship of state. Appear determined. Every other day we are hearing provocative statements, not from these non-state actors, but from government agents. Provocative statements. Now, you already have a population that is hurting. And what the population is hearing from their leaders are annoying proclamations and statements that are capable of provoking the people even more. In the midst of these circumstances, we have come together to harmonize the demands of representatives of these states, the 6 states of North Central, so that we can put forward, in case the leadership thinks that some of these demands are coming from never-do-well enemies of government, as we have heard, opposition or enemies of Nigeria, actually not enemies of God, enemies of Nigeria. We want to demonstrate that these are people who truly love this country. Because those who do not love this country are not making suggestions, are not making proposals, are not critiquing the government. What do they want to do? They want to go out of Nigeria. So those who are critiquing the country are actually the people who love Nigeria and want Nigeria better. And so we want to encourage and applaud those of you who have come here. And I want to ask our invited guests to just say a few words, 5 maximum 10 minutes, to encourage us. And then you are from North Central yourself, so your issue, what do you consider to be issues we should be discussing? It's a 2-day event. It's today and tomorrow. So we want you to mention 1 or 2 things you would want us to deal with during this 2 days interaction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Father. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you. All right, before we hear from our other guests, let me just respectfully ask Ambassador Felix Paul, Director, Diplomacy and Democracy Development of Savannah Center, to say a few words as well. You're welcome. Please, a round of applause for him.
Thank you very much. Our distinguished host, the Executive Director of LUXTERA, Reverend Father George Ehunasi, other members of the High Table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm reading a very brief remarks from the Executive Director of Savannah Center for Diplomacy, Democracy and Development. There is no doubt that Nigeria as a country is going through very trying times. The recent ENSA protests, which unfortunately were hijacked by hoodlums and criminals, brought out deep-seated emotions and pent-up anger against the police, especially among the youth. Almost on a daily basis, we get media reports that are full of cases of banditry, kidnapping, in fact, these days, kidnapping of students in schools for ransom, intercommunal clashes, farmer-herder clashes, and other security challenges that threaten the safety and security of law-abiding citizens across the country. This situation, you recall, last year led to a group of prominent Nigerians, about 31 of them, to issue a statement calling on Mr. President to take urgent measures to address what they call the trust deficit between the government and the citizens, especially the youth. The group also called on the government to address the insecurity and killings in the country, particularly in the northwest, north central, northeast of this country. The group further urged government to implement governance reforms demanded by well-meaning Nigerians. This event being held here today is in the context of efforts by Savannah Center and LUXTERA to lead a civil society-driven process involving zonal stakeholder dialogues in all the geopolitical zones of Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory. Your participation as stakeholders is therefore crucial in the search for national consensus on the challenges facing our nation and how we can collectively address them for the benefit of our citizens. As you begin your deliberations today, you are encouraged to focus on the following issues. 1, national unity. 2, national security challenges. 3, women and youth development. And finally, 4, civil society government partnership. The outcome of this engagement, as well as those of the other zonal engagements, would form the basis of a consensus on the policies we need for national revival and progress. Your task is therefore a particularly important one, and you are encouraged to be candid. I would like to conclude by wishing you very fruitful deliberations. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Paul. We appreciate you and appreciate the Savannah Center as well for all the work done so far to attain a better Nigeria. Just to welcome the gentlemen of the press, thank you so much for being here. I don't know how it skipped me to mention you, so thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We are so honored to have with us today to speak on issues concerning the North Central, John Cardinal Onaiyekan. Your Eminence, you're welcome. Please, a round of applause for him.
You have put these things in front of me. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Father George, for inviting me.
that Nigeria is in a bad shape is obvious to everybody, even to those who are denying it. Yes. And all of us can tell the story, the sad story of what has become of our nation. And I want us not to forget that it has not always been like this now. We had a nation that was not perfect, but was running. And that engendered confidence, trust, and hope for the future. So what we are most worried about is that we are in a situation that is practically destroying our hope and our trust for the future. The family, the generation of myself and Chief Audu Ogbe and co, I imagine we must accept responsibility for all this, because all those who have been ruling Nigeria since 1966 until now are all our classmates, aren't they? Or our juniors. So when we look at the country and what it has become, we must say that our generation has not done well. It has not done well. At least one lesson we should learn from that is to withdraw and make room for younger people, which unfortunately is not happening. Our famous former ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell, and his group in the Foreign Relations Committee of the United States of America came out with a very, very devastating report on Nigeria some 2 weeks ago. And when I read it, I got very, very, not surprised, because what they said was true. The only area I was not ready to agree with them is their prognosis for how things will end. John Campbell himself had once written a book on Nigeria called Dancing on the Brink of Chaos. When I met him, I told him I'm going to sue him for plagiarism, because I had used exactly that title for a talk I gave 2 years earlier in Berlin, describing the Nigerian situation as constantly dancing on the brink of chaos. But in that address, I also mentioned that in Nigeria, we are used to dancing 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. And we always manage to avoid the brink. When I spoke that way, that was about 6 years ago, you had reason to believe that, no, it will not go bad, that we shall manage to rescue ourselves from collapsing. Collapsing. That's one of the words that John Campbell and his people used, because they divided nations into 4 categories. Strong nations, strong states, weak states, failed states, and collapsed states. They put us at category 3, on the verge of category 4. And made it almost so clear, according to them, that we are on an irretrievable march towards collapsed state. And of course, government replied quickly to tell them they should shut up. John Campbell was accused of being a prophet of doom. He has done it before and he's done it again. He always says we are going to collapse, but we don't collapse. But I think government should also realize that if we didn't collapse all this time, it's because somehow, when it is at a critical moment, some people take things into their hands and pull us back. So if the prophecies did not come true, it is not because we just sat down and things worked well. It is because we took action to prevent the worst from happening. That is why I want to congratulate and commend Father George, your team, and all these people here for what has brought us here. Namely, we are Nigerians who are very worried about the situation, but we also are very confident that we have the wherewithal to overcome our problem. That our situation is not hopeless. Since I have 10 minutes, I just want to stress, which I had jotted down before Ambassador Paul spoke, the whole question of trust. They put it nicely by saying there's a trust deficit. We probably may go further to say it's not just a deficit. We are almost reached a stage of total collapse of trust. Trust, first and foremost, between the people and the people who are ruling them, people and government. And government stands on the basis of trust. If we don't trust government, why do we allow ourselves to be disarmed? So that all the guns are in the hands of those whom we trust to defend us. When you reach a stage where you no longer trust those who are to defend you, will defend you, there's no amount of rules and regulations you will put that will stop you from seeking ways of protecting or maintaining your self-preservation. It can take different forms. And it is well known that government is based on what you might call written or unwritten contract between the people and the governed. I'm stressing this because people think that democracy means at the election you elect some people. They are now in charge. You sit down, wait till they call you again in 4 years' time. Whatever they do, you shut up. If you are not happy, you wait for your turn. And I hear that said every time. We are government. Meaning democracy becomes the dictatorship of those who consider themselves elected. All the more serious when we are not even too sure of the quality of the elections that we have held so far. And there are people here who can help us, who can remind us of their own experiences in this regard. So this matter of trust, not only between government and people, we also need to generate trust among ourselves. Trust among ourselves, which means it is very important that we restore trust so that we can trust our government. And our government should trust us and allow us to talk. Let us cry when we feel hurt. They should not see any criticism as attack on the government. And when we watch television discussions in the mornings, and hear not just the body language, but the sound language of some of those who are supposed to be defending the government, is very sad. Total misunderstanding of what it means to be governing a sovereign and free people. We are not slaves that are being controlled by dictators. Not even subjects of monarchs who have absolute power. So, my strong conviction, first because I'm a Christian and Christians are incorrigibly optimistic, but above all, because I know Nigeria and have a strong conviction that we can draw back from the brink of chaos. But to do that, we must do what we are doing now. We cannot just relax or leave the stage to the non-state actors to which Father George was referring. Because we see that the agenda of the non-state actors, especially the ethnic non-state actors, even though their agenda may be quite justified, at the end of the day, is certainly not in terms of building a united and harmonious Nigeria. It has to do with pulling out. I believe those of us who are here, we have not disowned our respective ethnic nationalities, but we believe that you can still be strongly member of your ethnic nationality and still part of this structure called Nigeria, and we believe that it is better to be together than to be scattered. I've always insisted too that we should not say that the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. It is negotiable. But there are two ways of negotiating. We can negotiate to scatter ourselves, or we can renegotiate to remain together. And I believe we should allow room for a renegotiation for making our unity more solid, more durable. I imagine this is what it means when people are talking about constitutional review, about restructuring. All that language is a language of people who want a united country, but not the way it is, as if it is cast in stone. I imagine your discussions in your various places where you are coming from would have touched on some of these matters, as well as the 4 cardinal issues that the Savannah Center has also presented for your consideration. So we have to restore our mutual trust. And this restoration of mutual, in this restoration of mutual trust, there is the indispensability of government. The government is indispensable. We cannot do without government. Even though very often we are brought to the feeling that government so far is just there to put obstacles in our way. Many Nigerians feel if there was no government, things would have been much better. Well, that is only talking. If you look at places where there is no government, you now understand what it means to have no government, because a bad and weak government is better than no government at all. So there's indispensability of government. But because government is indispensable, it has responsibility to the people and to God. After all, our constitution says we are a nation united under God. By the way, don't take it for granted that a nation can put in its constitution that they are united under God, because there are countries that cannot put God in their constitution. You'll be surprised when you look at those countries that completely refuse to put God in the constitution. We have put God in our own. Therefore, we must take it seriously. Therefore, responsibility of government to pull the nation together, not to scatter us. That means the government must do all it can to pull the nation together. That will include patience to hear all kinds of things. That is what it means to be in government. To be able to listen to the pains and cries of the people. Because if you don't listen, you are not going to take any action. And secondly, to promote common action for the common good among all Nigerians. It is not helpful. In fact, it is completely dangerous to split the nation into two. Those who are for us and those who are against us. That division should stop after the election. Once election results come out, fair or not fair, free or not free, once election results come out, some group of people have now become government. From that point on, there should be no they against us. It's all of us together. And I cannot stress this more. Yeah. And I'm finishing. Bye. To do all this, there's a need for renewal of mentality. Call it restoration of minds, conversion. Attitudes must change. Concept of politics. In the case of the concept of politics as service, it's not so much that we don't know that politics should be about service. It is that many people enter politics for the wrong reasons. Not to serve, but to serve themselves. I don't know whether they realize that when you swear by the Bible or the Quran and you take office, you are putting yourself under the judgment of God. I don't know whether they realize it. That if you don't serve the people, let God deal with me. But of course, both us Christians and Muslims will say that our God is all merciful, isn't it? But don't take too much advantage of that, because the all merciful God is also the all just God. And that's why we need to also, for us who are not putting ourselves forward for elective offices, we cannot abdicate our responsibility as citizens' participation. Nobody is exempt from politics unless you are irresponsible. That is why when men in government tell me, because I'm a bishop, I should stop talking politics, I should stick to whatever they consider my role, I tell them, sorry, I cannot be irresponsible. Every Nigerian has a duty to be concerned about what is happening to his country. And you have to make your word, your case. And what you are saying should be listened to. You cannot just be only on the receiving end. I'm afraid our people have gotten used to just sitting down, complaining against the politicians, and are not really taking seriously their right to citizen participation. Or they claim that there's nothing they can do, that they are totally incapacitated. And of course, those who want to rule those things only by themselves, they are very happy when the people sit down and are doing whatever they are told to do. Our famous politician has a name for that kind of attitude, isn't it? Zombie attitude. It is when you have good sense of citizen participation that the people who emerge at elections as elected leaders can be put to task regularly. What are you doing there? And I don't think we should wait for them to present themselves for examination. We should insist, whatever way it takes, even like this kind of organization, to put the elected people on their toes. In the present total fear we are having in this nation, isn't it interesting that these things are not even featuring much in the national assemblies, who are supposed to be our representatives? But if the matter starts wrongly, it naturally ends wrongly. Final word. Sometime last year, was it last year, the Pope went to United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi. There, he met with the highest religious authority of the Sunni Islamic faith, the Grand Imam of the Great Mosque of Al-Azhar. He lives in the Al-Azhar University in Egypt, but they met in Abu Dhabi. And they signed a document, 4-page document, powerful document. I have been reading it and enjoying it. And the document is called Document on Human Fraternity. Human fraternity. And it is interesting that the highest level of Islam and the highest level, yes, of Christianity, even though the Pope is not the Pope of every Christian, but he is still the highest voice of Christianity in the world. Both of them have agreed in this document of 4 pages. We're not talking now about saying, carry your Bible, carry your Quran. No. This is the things we all agree. That all of us human beings are from the same parents. We are brothers and sisters. Human fraternity. We have different religions, we have different nations, we have different races, we have different cultures, but we are brothers and sisters and must live as brothers and sisters. Interestingly enough, this whole document found its way to the United Nations. It was decided, it was discussed at the United Nations General Assembly, and they passed a resolution. Of course, United Nations always passes resolutions. They have over 400 of them, most of which they do nothing about. In this particular one, they passed a resolution that every year on the 4th of February, they will celebrate all over the world the Day of Human Fraternity. Now, I ask myself, if people are talking about human fraternity at the global level, here we are in Nigeria, why can't we talk about national fraternity? Why can't we realize that as Nigerians, we belong together? Why must be always these Igbos, these Yorubas, these Hausas, these TV people? Why can't it just be we Nigerians? And so I end with that if things are to change, and if our attitudes are to change, we need to go back, since especially we are quite religious, and realize that our leaders, by the way, the document, even though it was signed by the Pope, has been endorsed by all the Christian groups. Protestants, Orthodox, they all endorsed it. And the document has been endorsed by all the Islamic groups. Shiites, yes, Shiites, as well as the other Muslim groups everywhere. That is why it was considered in the United Nations as a universal document. And it's a good idea to talk. We should not think it is impossible. That doesn't stop me being a Yoruba man. Though some Yoruba people don't even want me as Yoruba. They think I'm not Anna. That doesn't stop Father being a Brahman. But we should know that we are brothers. And so with that, I want to stop and hope that we'll have time to think about it.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. Thank you. Thank you for the words. We appreciate it. We move on very quickly to the Ogurefa of Oguri Land, the Foundation Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, the immediate past Secretary to the Kogi State Government, and also the immediate past Secretary General and Chief Executive of the Association of African Universities. His name is Professor Olugbemiro Jegede. Thank you so much.
Participants and members of the North Central Group, we identify with you because that's where we come from, that's where we belong. But of course, we are for the greater good of humanity under a conglomerate of Nigerians, or that place being called Nigeria. The geopolitical zones were formed during the Abacha regime to bring governance closer to people. Unfortunately, it looks like even when we now have states, local governments, and whatever, governance has been driven very far away from the people. Although they say that there is no leadership without followership, it looks like we have reached a situation where the leadership has abandoned the followers. Or at least there is a disconnect. And we have now reached a situation where security has taken over everybody's sleep. Nobody sleeps now fully with their two eyes closed. Even in schools, when people go there, and I will tell you a story about that in a few minutes, but security has been affected, our socio-economic life has been affected, our political life affected, and all others. And it's not only unemployment or bad governance or lack of quality education, etc., or religious superiority, ethnic superiority that has affected or has become responsible for our security. It is that some people have made insurgency a very lucrative business in Nigeria. It's so lucrative that they do kidnapping, they do banditry, they do Boko Haram, they do ISWAP, and some of them, to make more money, they combine all together. And so if you want to travel between here and Ilorin, you will be worried what to do, because you cannot get 107,000 naira for your return ticket. You want to go by road. Before, we used to be worried about armed robbers. Now you are worried first about the roads. The roads are so bad, and you tell yourself, but even if I go on the road, then I should be worried about bandits. If I move a little bit, maybe beyond Niger, you'll now be talking about kidnappers all over the place. So you really don't, until you get to where you're going, you find that your mind is always working wonders all over the place. And so at their roots, every security challenge that we have is a symptom of the larger failure in governance. Lawlessness has taken over this country, taken over the physical landscape, and yet we're still thinking that there is time. Well, I think the executive director has been very kind to Nigeria by describing us as a collapsing or a failing, maybe a collapsing state. But let me go one step further. For unity to occur, for people to feel safe in a place, there must be some basic things will have to be there as a structure. One, justice. Is there justice in this country? Please answer me. No. The next is fairness. Do you think there is fairness in this country? Do you think there is equity? Do you think there is oneness? Do you think there is peace? No, if we don't have all this, then we have collapsed. When you say you are collapsing, it means that there is still, you can still sleep a bit and say, okay, I think I will mend it tomorrow or day after. No, but it's collapsed. So you should have started mending it several days ago or several years behind. So we must run to get this country back to where it's been, where it was. And for some of us, it's as the Cardinal has said, I think it's... we look at it, we look back, one, with nostalgia of where we are coming from, and seeing what is happening now, and wondering that if the situation persists, you may never have a country to stay in. And yet, we don't have any other country apart from Nigeria. We must do something. But I'm going to ask a question, and I do hope you people will discuss this. I know that in the history of this country, the development of this country, North Central zone has always been very central. In fact, I'm going to be selfish to say that North Central zone developed the old northern region. Let me reduce it home to you. I'm going to reduce it to tell you that Kogi State, no, let me reduce it. Kaba province was the group or the place that developed almost the whole of northern Nigeria, particularly education. There was no government secondary school you went to in those days. You didn't find a Kaba province man, either the senior science master or the principal or the PT teacher or whatever. So, if this happened, why is North Central not getting his own fair share? That's why I'm asking the question, is there fairness? We have been talking about, no, one step back. The road between Abuja and Lokoja, the contract was awarded 15 years ago. 15! That road is still not finished. What have we done wrong? The second is that they've been talking about the Ajaokuta steel industry for ages. We were nearly finishing it and somebody stopped it. 1 minute for me, thank you. Somebody stopped it. And now we are still playing politics with it. That place will have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of Nigerians, and they won't have the chance for this insurgency if they were occupied. So these are things I want you to look at. Apart from Ajaokuta, of course, you have the Itakpe. So what have we done wrong? In spite of that, I think we still believe in Nigeria. And so we must do a number of things. One, rethink the structure of the Nigerian state and reconstitute it. Reconstitute is different from restructuring. Identify means of strengthening our national identity. We must harness the aspirations of youth and women to advance governance reform. We need to create more accountability within the security services or any other services. We must avoid the militarization of every security challenge in this country. When 2-3 people are making noise, you send a whole battalion. When you can talk, when you can dialogue. So, sir, I want to thank you so much for inviting me here. I want to praise your efforts here, Father Ihusani. You are one Nigerian that, even if they don't give you OON or whatever it is, the world has recognized your efforts in making sure that Nigeria remains one. Congratulations, and I hope that Nigerians will continue to sing your song. And members, congratulations for being here. Please continue to do North Central Zone proud, regardless, but think Nigerian. Thank you very much.
Think Nigeria. Thank you so much. Please, another round of applause for Professor Jegede. Thank you so much, sir. Next on our list is a farmer. He's a renowned farmer. His late father was also a renowned farmer. And we're super proud of him in the North Central. And we now know where he got his green streak from. You know, it's a generation of farmers. We're so honored to introduce the former Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. No wonder he became Minister of Agriculture, right? Yeah, he was Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development of the Federal Republic of Nigeria from 2015 to 2019. Besides being a farmer, he's also known for his literary works. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Chief Audu Obe.
Your Eminence, Father George, distinguished members of the High Table, and the people of North Central State, and I dare say people of Nigeria. I'll try and make it very brief. Henry VIII used to say to his 6 wives, "I shall not keep you long." Very quickly, let me say that having been in politics for over 42 years, I will tell you that what is happening today, by and large, is a result of terrible mistakes we made in the past. We had a coup in 1966. And before the coup, we had what we called the Republican Constitution of 1963, which by and large allowed for regions to operate pretty much on their own and make contributions to the center. The regions were so autonomous that each of the 3 regions then had a representative in London as its agent general. For the north, it was Jolly Yusuf Tanko. For the west, a man called Okoro Dudu, whose son was my schoolmate at King's College. And for the east, I think it was Nwokedi. Then the coup of 66 happened. And then somebody drafted a new constitution and handed over to Ironsi. The constitution unified the country and destroyed what was the true federalism Nigerians are asking for now. And everything, almost everything, is controlled by the federal government, not allowing the states any autonomy or much autonomy. So today you hear the grumbling and the request for restructuring. This is how it happened. Before 66, we had that constitution, which worked fairly well. The states were growing in the regions at their own pace. The Southwest was the first to have television, even before France. The North was way behind in education, but was struggling to catch up. I won't stay too long on that. We carried on, the military kept coming. One other disaster that happened to Nigeria was that between 1960 and 1993, we experienced 7 coups d'etats. 7. Compare that with India. India became independent on the 15th of August, 1947. I was only 12 days old then. Between then and now, India has never had a coup. Not that India has less problems than Nigeria. In terms of ethnicity, religion, political disagreements, you can't match India. India's case was so bad that Winston Churchill made a joke of India when India got independence. He said, this place can never be a nation. For it to be a nation, you need a Hitler-type army to maintain order. So they are primitive tribalists, they'll kill each other and so on. Till today, India hasn't had a coup. In 1966, Prime Minister Shastri, a very small man, barely 5'2", was Prime Minister in India. And His Eminence will know that there were many Indian teachers all over the place looking for money to send home. Things were so bad in India that he would go on radio begging Indian families to fast for 2 days a week because there was no food to eat in India. Whole families fast 2 days a week. He died after 2 years in office, and Mrs. Gandhi took over. Today, India is the largest exporter of rice on planet Earth, the biggest producer of wheat. India has attempted rockets to the moon, and by 7 years' time, India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world. Now let me go back to why I drew this attention. 7 coups. And after each coup, we dance for joy. We the people. We support chaos. We encourage instability. And then blame somebody else for it. At the bottom of this chaos, the anger, the mistrust, the hate, and the violence is number 1, the economy, number 2, the economy, and number 3, the economy. How do you run a country? We are from the North Central state. How many of you can count any number of factories in your states? Industries in the North Central. Some have many. Benue, we have 10. None is working. Right. Niger is almost 3 times the size of the southeast. There's hardly any industry there. Plateau has 2. Right? Nasarawa is coming along with their sugar projects. Kwara has about 2 or 3. Your population is growing at 3.5%, and your economy is growing at 1.1%. Democracy is not just the ritual of 4 yearly elections. No matter how free and fair, democracy alone doesn't work. That's the dummy we've been sold in Africa and South America. Democracy is the capstone of a growing and healthy economic and social environment. If you don't have that, democracy is no use to you. After all, is China a democracy? Since COVID, China's economy has grown 18.3%. I am not by any means recommending the Chinese type of governance, but they have control. They are organized. Today, I asked my wife last night, how much is Gari in the market? 600 naira a mudu. Now, the day Gari becomes too expensive for the common man, what else is there to buy? Yams you can't touch, beans you can't touch, rice you can't touch. Meat, no. Chicken, fish, you can't. What does a man say to his wife and children when the wife says, there is no food in the house and you have nothing to do? Believe me, if you see the devil beckoning, you'll go there. Because there's nothing more embarrassing. Because your wife is not her business to go find food and money for you. She's going through enough stress. Children, cleaning the house, cooking the food, getting all the pressure you put on her. You haven't done this, you haven't done that. She can't at the same time be feeding you, assuming she had the means. Finally, restructuring. What is it about? The states are saying, some people, allow us a bit of room, let's manage our own affairs, keep the authority at the center, but give us resources, allow us resources to do what we have to do, will contribute towards the center. Especially states like Lagos, which contribute so much to VAT. Lagos is so rich, it's like New York. 72% of Nigeria's currency circulates in Lagos. Out of every 100 naira, 72 naira is in Lagos. Abia has a bigger GDP than almost most of the north central states. They are very busy. Commerce, industry, they make shoes now, all sorts of things. What do we have? Prof. Jegede has made a point just now. It isn't only that Kaba contributed so much to education. The north central area is the largest contributor to the fighting force of this country. My own father's only younger brother was a sergeant in the British Army in 1943, in the 14th British Army. We were there. In the last Civil War, we were almost 80% of the army. But we are poor. We have no money. Not that we have no resources. We have more than enough. We have no money. There's hardly a rich man here. Hardly. We all have names, logos on our foreheads, former this, former that. We are broke. So, let me conclude. The economy. Unless and until governors and governments recognize that their primary duty, apart from security, is to grow the economy, to help the people industrialize, improve in agriculture, add value to what they produce. You can bring another government here tomorrow. The story will remain the same. And finally, should we fall asleep and cry? No. This is beautiful, what you're doing now. And we may have to move, we may have to move further down and talk to our people. How do you handle young people coming behind us, our children and grandchildren? Tell them old stories about our greatness. Your children graduate, they return to the house for a second childhood, begging for a recharge card, underwear. They despise you, the parent. They are unhappy with themselves. And they're asking, why are we so unlucky to be born here? So they want to cross the desert, go to Libya, and get sold sometimes for $400. I've seen a young Nigerian sold on TV for the organs to be harvested. If we don't deal with the economy and deal with it seriously at state level, if we don't improve the governance at local government levels, today hardly any local government has a grader to open up a village road for poor farmers to go and bring their cassava. No local government in Nigeria, apart from maybe Rivers and Lagos, is functioning. You send the cash, somebody keeps it. But we had native authorities paying school fees and giving scholarship to us in earlier times. What's all this cash, cash, cash? Cash is not wealth. Wealth is in the soil. I thank you, Father, Your Grace, for this kind of thing. Let it be known. A day will come when you don't care whether there is a governor in your state or not. You don't need him. She's a governor. If he wants to see you, call you. I was on a farm in Arkansas once when a farmer came in and told us he just got a call from the White House. Oh, he said the president wanted him, and he said, he picked the phone, Mr. President, how can I help you? And the president said, I want you in Washington as Secretary of Agriculture. The man said, Mr. President, no way. I can't do that. I said, why? He said, no. I make $13 million a year from fish. You want me in Washington to earn $90,000 a year, squeeze myself in a 2-bedroom apartment, and be abused by Congress? I can't do that. It took his children a week to persuade him to go and do 2 years and return. And he then told the president, I don't want your salary. I don't need it. The economy, my brothers and sisters, the economy. God bless you all.
Wow. Amazing. The economy. Please, another round of applause for Chief Audu Ogbe. Thank you, sir. Very, very mind-blowing. We appreciate it. Let me introduce our next guest, a broadcast journalist. She's a writer, poet, media consultant, best known as a former news anchor and correspondent for the NTA, Mrs. Eugenia Abu. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Father Ehusani for inviting us here. I'd like to start by thanking His Eminence for, as always, coming to a place where we're looking for solutions for the country. I thank you, sir. So let's start, first of all, by going back to what Chief Audu Ogbe said. And it hasn't been said in so many words today. Do we hold our governors accountable? It's a big challenge. Because, you know, we talk about leaders, we look at leaders in the center. And we forget that the leaders that are really responsible are in the states. The governors are state security, chief security officers. Do we hold our local government chairmen accountable? It is in this zone that local government chairmen started doing asusu. You know what asusu is, of 10 million naira each. They were going to build petrol stations and build hotels. And in the middle of it, they were all sacked. And some people didn't get their asusu. And it became a big problem. But local government chairmen need to be interrogated. We are not doing that. So when you go to, in other parts of the world, the local government chairman is a big deal. And the local government areas in the United States are big deals. In our local government areas here, we don't have water. The women are still trekking miles to fetch water. And they are still grinding pepper on stones. And we say we are modern. I think there's a challenge. Local government chairman, really, in Nigeria, if you send a professor there, he becomes something else. When you go to the local government, you find a man who you don't recognize. He's a professor. But when he gets there, he becomes this man that you are not sure whether he is a leader, he's a thug, or, you understand. Just go and look at our local government. It's a tragedy. We need to reinterrogate them. My brothers and sisters from the North Central, the most important part of a human being is the earth where he comes from, the sand. He's umbilical. How he is connected to his mother and therefore connected to the soil of his area. We all come from somewhere. I don't believe in running away. Running away to another person's country where I'm second-class citizen is not an option for me. I will not go anywhere. I choose not to go because Yamala is fresher here. And the food is organic. And when you get there, you buy organic chicken, you pay twice the amount. Because the agricultural chicken that has been fed all kinds of things is cheaper. And we're growing bigger and bigger by eating those ones when we go there. But the chicken, my uncle-in-law will run behind the house and catch it and kill it for me. It's fresh, chicken that is homegrown. Jollof rice is still one of my favorites. Oka is still one of my favorites. My mother, my late mom, was Igbira. And I like amala. Whether you put me inside the United States or in Pennsylvania, I will still eat amala. That is the challenge. And those things are not available in those places. But more than anything else, how much can $1 get you today? And I'm talking love of your country. $1 cannot fetch you much in the United States. But it is about 500 naira. It will give you mama put for 250. It will give you mama put for 180 with no meat. and still have change in your pocket. My children go to school in ABU Zaria. With 500 naira, 3 of them will buy flat fish, 200 naira, tomato 50, oil 50. They buy oil, 50 naira. Buy pepper, 20 naira, and buy all the other things. And then they take rice from home, and together all 3 of them can eat on 500 naira. But there are people who don't have that 500 naira. And that is why we are here today. That there are people who don't have that 500 naira to eat with. And yet we are running away, and the Chinese are running inside our country. The Indians are coming, and the Lebanese are opening shawarma joints. Then we wake up in the morning, and online we are abusing our nation. A nation does not do very well when its citizens abuse the soil on a daily basis. How it is a stupid country, how it's useless, how it's not going to get better. God is listening. And yet he gave us mangoes, which you can buy in a basket for 200 naira in the village, and you buy £1 for 1 in the UK. It's a challenge. Love your country, no because other nations love their country. We are abusing it. It gave us the scholarships. It gave our grandparents free education. Remember those things that he gave, and you are pretending that you are not part of that family. It's not true. Nigeria gave and gave until it had nothing to give, and we took and left it barren. That is the challenge. I'm going to run through my points for the sake of time. Unity in diversity. When I see ethnic nationalism, I come from the 9th largest tribe in Nigeria, Amigala. We're the ones who, because we were having a tussle with the Benin Kingdom, buried our princess alive so that we can win the war against Benin people. We have a rich culture. And yet, there are ethnic nationalities who say nothing has been done for them. When I go home to my village, I'm saddened because nothing has been done for my people. And yet, I'm not shooting guns. I've been only one person if you do ethnic nationalism. I can be terrorist if I want. But I am saying, let's talk about it. I don't have to carry a gun or go and terrorize my neighbors or terrorize everybody or kidnap people. We can talk about these things. It doesn't mean the government is right. It means, like Father Husani had said, we can talk about them. Is it about your family, about your people? What are our values? The North Central has been known for many, many years of doing well. And in doing well, it has not translated. Why has it not translated? If you go to ABU Zaria, they will tell you that the North Central is the one with the largest population of people applying to go to school. We like book. We have professors, we have brilliant people. How has it translated? How has it translated? You know, it should translate. What is our representation? What is our representation? How many people are we mentoring? In the last 8 years or so, I've mentored 500 young people, and they don't necessarily have to come from my state, Kogi State. If you know something, who have you carried along to teach? Our people don't know politics, so Chivaldo, we need to build a school. So I will go learn the matter. Because we just know how to tell the truth. When we arrive, we just tell the truth. That is why I'm looking at politics and thinking, maybe I'm not. Because when you tell the truth, you're like, no, you shouldn't have said that. Really? So we have to learn how to say it. And we don't know how to say it. So, efficiency is a standard. We are known for being very efficient in the North Central. How has that translated? And how come we're filling our states with lists of ghost workers? In the North Central state is pretty famous. People who know they do anything. One local government councillor will come and say, put 5 people on the list. The person doesn't work there. Then at the end of the month, the local government councillor will come and collect the money. So there's a problem, and we need to address it. Nigeria's corruption has eaten everywhere. We need to work on it. What are the things that undo us? Where are our risk? What is our risk assessment? I looked at an international document the other day. Benue was on the red list. Red list of where you shouldn't go. Other states were on different levels of risk. How are we contributing? Do we know kidnappers? Are we hiding them? Are we the zone that would say, there is a kidnapper in my neighborhood? These days, the police sometimes connive with, and then when you go and report, then they come and wipe out your family. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes the neighborhood will not tell the truth. They know there are kidnappers. People are enjoying driving big car. They are kidnapping our children. Should that be so? We shouldn't be part of the toxic environment as the North Central. We are not North, we are not South, we are hanging just there. My colleague many years ago said to me, come and collect your tapes, Ojare. All these tapes that have come from Maiduguri. I was from Benue State then, and I asked him, where is Maiduguri? He didn't know the difference between Maiduguri and Makurdi. The North Central State is very unknown. Teach your Yoruba neighbor that you are North Central. Teach him that Makurdi and Maiduguri are not the same. They carry tales about how they don't know anything about us. And I spent time educating my friends from the 3 troublesome areas of Nigeria, Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa. I tell them, I say, come. You see, now they cause trouble. Do you think I cannot be a terrorist? What is all that? And I explained to them that we, where I come from, we bury princess. Try me and see. We bury princess alive. So what do you fit tell me? Do you understand? We should promote our culture. The tyranny of the press. I must not sit down without saying this. The press is drumming for war. When the war comes, where would you be? Ask those who saw the war. Ask them in Syria. Ask them in Libya. We are drumming for war. For what? After this government, there will be another one. So why are we behaving as if Nigeria will end with this government? It will not. And after we have drummed for war and we enter war, who will carry the can? As His Eminence said, you cannot get rid of government. There are processes. Teach your children to vote right. Don't come and tell us you are very annoyed after you have collected 2 naira for 4 years. You can't be annoyed because you didn't teach your children to vote well. You collected 2 naira, voted wrongly, then you are complaining. No, you cannot. No, you must not. So the press must guard its nation jealously. We cannot be exposing where the military is having meeting and talking about it and saying it's expo in the press. That's not how to be a journalist, please. Finally, I come from a mixed background. My uncle was Grand Kadi of Kogi State, Alhaji Ustaz Abdallah, my grandmother's younger brother. My uncle was Imam of my local government. My husband's uncle is Imam of his village. I'm Catholic. I think that I'll go to Haji Anana's house and carry a knife, my cousin. Why will I do that? She eats in my house at Christmas. The North Central has the most mixed religion in the country. Therefore, we should teach other regions how to behave and have tolerance. And tell people who are predominantly Christian that Muslims are not evil. And tell people who are predominantly Muslim that Christians are not evil. We carry all kinds of things online. Abuse each other for no reason. We can't continue like that. It is wrong. Let us push our agriculture. Finally, our national resources. Kwara, Ashoke, Wara. Culture, Kogi, Ashoke, yams, red oil. Plateau, tourism, fresh vegetable, ambience. Nasarawa, yams, fish, culture. Benue, fish, yam, culture. Niger, fish, pottery, tourism. Ladikwali, hospitality and friendship is what we are known for. People take us for granted because of that. Even one-on-one, because we are friends with people. Then in the night, they knife us. Our friendship is what is causing. We won't stop being friendly, but we have to be wise. Let's learn to be wise. Our hard work, our gems in the soil. I have nowhere to run to. I'm from North Central. Good morning.
Woo. Another round of applause for her, please. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, so let's just move on very, very swiftly to a man of steel. He's been in the steel industry for over 20 years. And he's actually a lawyer, but he ran away from the law. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Chairman CEO, Total Steel Limited, Barrister Hussaini Abdurrahman. You're welcome, sir.
So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. From all that has been said, we must build institutions. Not ethnic-based, not religious-based. We must build national institutions. The reason why a person becomes a governor today and people's funds meant for the state, become his pocket money to do what he likes, is because we have very weak political institutions. First of all, the political parties. In governance, the most significant institution is the political party. If it is based on ethnic politics, if it's headed by ethnic and religious heroes, you cannot do anything. It will become an institution where self-service, selfishness is run, and this is what is controlling this country today. As has been said by the Honorable former Minister of Agriculture, it's like just reiterating what I penciled down. Economy is most significant. The reason why the center cannot hold is because we have not built both economic and political institutions that are sustainable. Countries in this world are now divided into smart and dumb countries. If you are weak, you don't use your brain, and your educational system is not designed in such a way as you can make the things you use. If we stop now and take a census of everything that we use in this room today, the pens, the handbags, the shoes, the glasses, the microphone, the textiles, which are broken down completely, you'll find out that our economic institutions have not been run well, and that's where we really need restructuring. I always say that restructure that people are talking about are being promoted by those sucking the country out of this ethnic nationalism, West, East, and North. The restructuring we really need in this country is restructuring the economy for the benefit of the common man. Not restructuring the economy to further feed the interest and selfishness of regional political heroes. We must abandon this philosophy of which we bought from Bretton Woods institutions that, okay, government has no role and should not invest in the economy, should not build factories. We must build factories. We must mechanize our agriculture, and the government must play a very big role in it. Because when you look at it, capital is the biggest obstacle to the formation of businesses and to building of factories. The argument that government is corrupt, people will be corrupt, is stupid. Because the central bank is also run by government officials. If the central bank of most countries is run by government officials, how has it become plausible to argue that when government invests in government, in business, it is not good and we should abandon it? I think these are philosophies to keep our economy small and not to grow. So this is one of the things I want us to look into. We should restructure our thinking. We should get governments involved in PPPs, new ways of doing things. We should focus on agriculture. The biggest bank in the world, the most capitalized bank in the world, is the Chinese Industrial and Agricultural Bank. It's bigger than any of those Western banks. Why? Because the policy of the Chinese government is food and industry. As has been said, and I support it, we must focus. Government's main focus should be on how to provide jobs. Provide jobs for people, encourage putting all the money we have into agriculture, into manufacturing. I once proposed to one of the governors, I said we should look at North Central, Northwest, and create. We have coal, we have iron ore, and we can try to look at Pujo Automobile, because my factory is next to Pujo Automobile. Can we not look at a situation where we bring coal and iron ore from Kogi and create a market and produce the chassis and the body, which is just the pricing? Can we not do that? the result was the focus of the government was not about that. And one big important point is that why government continues to focus on, oh no, we want to build infrastructure. We want to build infrastructure. The point is that factories and mechanization of agriculture must precede the building of infrastructure. The infrastructure being built in Nigeria today is elitist. We build airports, we build rail lines, who is it for? Who is going to use that infrastructure when people are unemployed? People are not. So we must proportionately build and focus on infrastructure and even give more priority to giving jobs by building factories. If you go to all the industrial areas, including the one I'm doing my business in, nearly 90% of the factories are down. If people are not in factories and they are not in farms, what do you want them to do? Why are you complaining about insurgency? They will do something else with their energy and time. So the solution to this insurgency, as has been said earlier by the Honorable Minister, is that we must create jobs for the ordinary people. It is the responsibility of government. All this will create will create the enabling environment, and we continue to pocket the money and divert it to unserious things. It's not welcome. And one of the good examples of this is this. Obajana Cement, most of you do not know. It's in Kogi, it's in the North Central. It has created the biggest, the richest black man, Aliko Dangote. How did it happen? Was it Aliko that single-handedly went and built Obajana? Well, check what I will tell you now. The federal government of Nigeria gave a sovereign guarantee of over $600 million to back the building of Obajana. So all these lies about, no, government is not supposed to, private sector, do it and all that, is a Western strategy to keep us down. Your states, when I went to China in my growing years, about 30 years ago, I found the Chinese, the local governments, the provincial governments that are equal to the state governments here, they were all investing in industries and agriculture, partnerships and directly. So finally, my view is that the youth must do everything possible to take over and take over this country, take over its future. When political institutions are being built, do not support any ethnic-based or religious-based ethnic institutions. Please, take initiatives to build institutions based on vision, based on creating prosperity, based on moving the country forward and creating prosperity all over the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. And, it's no wonder that as a man of steel, you won't talk about steel. So we appreciate you so much. Please, another round of applause for him. Let's move very, very swiftly. We have run out of time to an educationist, a journalist, an economist, a public information intellectual, a mediator, a promoter of minority rights. She's a human rights and development advocacy professional. Her name is Mrs. Ene Ede, and we're so glad to have you here. Please, a round of applause for her.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So that we have a people that are unique in terms of their endowment upstairs here, in terms of their culture, in terms of their contribution, in terms of their land, their people, their heritage. Look at the kind of, what my sister talked about, the dresses we have. So if we have that, what else should be our portion in the country, Nigeria? Kogi State that we have talked about, and others who are not from Kogi have talked about. Kogi State produced the first female minister ever. The Minister of State for FCT now. Why? Why should it be so? Look at all the governance structures, because it's very important. In Nigeria, economy is extremely important. But another structure that is so important is the governance structure. And it's the money spinner. It's what brings goodwill. It's what brings social capital that translates to other forms of resources. So where are our women there? Go to the Federal Executive Council, go to the National Economic Council, go to the judiciary. Yes, it's one of us from Plateau that is the president of the Court of Appeal. But what about the other structures, the supporting structures? Is it enough to just put somebody there and you have others there that, you know what happens in Nigeria? So what then can we do? For part of my call to action today, engineer had said restructuring is not necessary. For me, restructuring is necessary, but what is the modality we want to use that can unite us? It's very important to me. When recently I was made the VAB coordinator, according to Section 42 of this VAB Act, it's an act of parliament, only implemented in about 16 states, and many of the northern states have not been able to. I say about because we couldn't get the data, because of the haphazard nature of the implementation. Now, all of us gathered here, including the media, because here, one of the 26 acts of violence that has been listed here is also what a major category here is the state actors. So how do you support women of the North Central particularly to hold governments and others accountable for excluding them from governance table? Economic benefits. Even discussion. That's why I'm not taking it for granted that we are 2 women here. 2. Oh, 3, sorry. 3 of us. In other times they said, no woman, okay, we can speak for women. Yeah, you can speak for us. I want you to imagine why we are talking about even security structures that are put in place. We have signed this 21 years ago. That is the security that United Nations, I would like us to go and check. There is no country of the world, even America, have been able to sign onto frameworks that will empower our women, girls, boys, persons with disabilities equitably. No country, including the optional protocol. The optional protocol means you have no inhibition, not religion, not tradition, nothing stops me, not even money. So why, my sister Eugenia talked about holding our government, public office holders accountable. So how do we now use this document? Because it's a law that is justiciable. That is, you can go to court and win and secure justice using this book. So I'm interested in all of us here supporting the women of the North Central to do that. You see, when they talk about Nigeria, a number of us are emotional. One, I was born on October 1st. So you know when you are talking about, they say when you talk about bone, an old woman or old man will be agitated because the body system is reducing. For many of us, when they talk about Nigeria, we are also worried, genuinely worried, because we love Nigeria. It's not by accident. And no country of the world is as beautiful as Nigeria. So what stops us from giving what is due to everybody equitably? I listened to the presentation of the Catholic Church to the House of Representatives, a public hearing on constitutional amendment, though some say it should be constitutional review. And they said issue of diversity, issue of exclusion, and issue of marginal, as well as discrimination. So this is what we suffer to as women. So the Catholic Church too speaks for all of us women. They speak for the women of the Middle Belt. Check on record anywhere. Look at our sister there in the Federal Executive Council. What our sister Dame Pauline Tallen has done, if you put 5 or 10 ministers together, they are not able to achieve it. Even though her ministry has been stripped of so much power. Yet, you see her working hard to make sure that she's able to move Nigerian women to where they need to be, providing leadership. So why should we deserve discrimination? If we are patriotic, if we are humble, if we are industrious, if we are able to multiply whatever is given to us, why should we suffer marginalization? issue of violence, if you look at the record of violence against women, the report will soon be out. I have the privilege of facilitating the report for government. For God's sake, if you look at the report in the North Central, particularly because of insurgency, and most of the people there who are hurting are women. You know what it means that a mother hen is there with her children, and suddenly there's a threat, or both real or imagined, and the children are scattered. Which direction do you want to run to? So this is what you have done to women, traumatizing us. So at the governance table, we should be called to talk. We should be asked questions. We should be consulted. We should be involved. We should participate. We should represent. Senate, House of Reps, all the houses of assembly, how many women are representing the voice of women? Symbolism is very important. So thank you very much.
Wow. I told you she's an activist through and through, and she speaks for the women of Nigeria and the women of the North Central region. Please, another round of applause for her. Let's now have, he's a two-time commissioner. He was the two-time commissioner, deputy governor, Minister of State for Information and Communication, substantive Minister of Information and Communications in December 2010. And he has also run for the governorship of Nasarawa State. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Honorable Labaran Maku, CON, to make his remarks. You're welcome, sir.
So much has been said. Two things here. Number one, economy. That is from the perspective of both Chief Ogbe and Barrister Hussein Abdurrahman and all of us. Economy, economy, economy. Very important. Without an economy, you cannot have politics. Without a strong economy, no democracy can survive. And that is why, if you look what has been going on since the pandemic to now, the move in the West, how much government money has moved from the United States onto the economy, how much public money has gone to support factories that are failing, how much government money has gone to pay for people welfare to keep them alive while the economy returns. Anybody that tells you that government has no business in the economy simply want the collapse of your country. Government's number one duty is to run the economy. Run it so effectively that citizens can get the resources to meet the needs and bring the best talents to run the country and the economy. That's what government is all about. That's what we see in the West. That is what we are seeing in China. That is what you see in Japan. In fact, the quality of government determines the state of the economy. That is what it is. If the economy is not working, something is wrong with governance. If the economy is not working, something wrong with we the leaders. If the economy is not working, our vision is warped. Our vision is not straight. And we're not focusing where we should be focusing. Because our number one duty is to manage the resources and the people available to us to produce the substance of existence, to produce the kind of society that we want. Now, why is the economy not working? Because governance has failed. But unfortunately, these are the two sides of the coin. If the economy is not working, the economy is not working because government has failed. Governance has failed. Leadership has failed to run the economy to produce the results you are seeing in China, in Germany, in Japan, in France, in America, in Canada, in South Korea, everywhere. It's governance. Leadership and governance are central to everything we're talking about. Now let's look at it. First Republic succeeded in running the economy. Clearly, all the regions, first-class management. Look at what Awo was doing. Sadona built factory from there to Numan. Even in Jos, there was a factory to produce jute bags for Auduga. In Numa, cement factory. All spread over the north. Provincial secondary school that now looked at universities. Sadona built them. All the factories in the use of northern Nigeria moved into Kaduna, which was the melting pot of our people. Kaduna became the regional headquarters of everybody. Built Hamdallah hotels, built everything you can call northern Nigeria today. All the great institutions that Abdulrahman was talking about, Sardauna and build the greatest university, ABU. And he wanted a university that will be bigger than that of the Southwest, Southeast, and so on. So they succeeded because the leadership was right. The atmosphere was right. The focus was right. The region was big enough for him to get the resources to run the region. The same thing happened with Okpara in the Southeast. Look at the factories. Look at oil palm factories. Look at the Southwest. All over the first television in Africa, and even for many European countries, the first in the Southwest. Focus on education. Today, the Southwest is still the greatest educational province in Africa. There's nowhere in Africa you will have more developed people than you have in the Southwest of Nigeria. So why are we not going the right way? Something is wrong with our governance. Thank God for Chief Ogbe. He gave us a history. We must move from that history. That the constitution that made that governance successful has collapsed since 1963. So what we have now are states that look like local governments. In those days, they are like the provinces. In fact, some states are smaller than the provinces that northern Nigeria inherits. Many states have been created out of provinces. What is the consequence? Multiplication of bureaucracy without a value addition. From 304 local governments in 1983, we have 774. And if you go to the local government, in state government, they are still creating development areas, no development. So the structure of the Nigerian state as it is today, after 1963, has grown too large. It's been created mainly, in my opinion, to share oil revenue. It was not created to bring oil money to the center to run Nigeria. It was created for the center to share revenue. If I'm a good officer, you can give me many local governments in my state. You can create a state for me. When they created additional states, I was an editor in Champion newspapers. And I said, well, in other countries, governments are creating factories, industry, and so on. And because we're not creating anything, we're creating states and local governments. I can assure you that something is wrong with the structure of Nigeria. The structure of governance is too costly. From 3 regions to 36 states to 774 local governments. You have what Sardauna was doing as one governor receiving salary alone. You now have 36 governors receiving. By the way, in 1991, I went to Sokoto on a journalistic mission. I asked Sarki Sudan Worno, Shehu Malami, to take me to Sardauna's house because I was so impressed by his leadership. It was a 4-bedroom bungalow that I saw. Sardauna's house. Every local government chairman now has a duplex, virtually. The level of the cost of governance in this nation must be brought down. And we must admit that the structure the military continue to create, which we want to add on, is not working. Look at it. When the regions were 3, we had more development. When the states were 12, development came down, but it was still working more than the states multiplied. Look at Gowon's 12 states. They are moving. Look at Audu Bako, what he was doing in Kano with all those dams. Look at Joseph Gonwok in Plateau. Look at Ogbemudia in Bendel. Look at Johnson in Lagos. Development was going on. Now the states have been reduced to minuscule parts of the federation to take money from Abuja. This cannot work. We need to very sincerely look at the structures of governance. If we don't, we are deceiving ourselves. There's no truth. Madame Fodios, a truth statement that I don't forget. He said truth is an open wound. Only, the conscience is an open wound. Only truth can heal it. And he says it is better to have a prince that has no religion but has justice to run a state because he will hold the state together. But if you have a very religious person running a state that has no justice, that state will collapse. He emphasizes justice and truth. And that is what is in all our religions. The truth be told, it is, in my opinion, that we need to take a look at the structure of the federation. That is why it's important to have a conversation. That structure should look at how the increase in states has led to underdevelopment. And the quality of leadership has come down. We need to restructure the federation. There's no agreement on this. Some say let all the present 6 zones become regions. Others say maybe we can look at Gowon's 12 states to begin with. If you take them as regions, you may do amendment here and there, and the state become provinces under those regions. and we'll do something about local government that are not working. Apart from Kano and Lagos, maybe a few states in the south that have oil money. Nowhere local governments working. If local governments are working in your state, put up your hand. No, on a serious note. If local governments are working in any state in north central Nigeria, please put up your hand. Not Abuja. Abuja has federal money. If local governments are working anywhere in north central, please put up your hand. They are not working. Governors have joint accounts with local governments. They use the money to buy cars. They use the money to share. No development is going on. So there must be something to be done about the federation. Let me also say this. Justice. Everybody here talked about justice. Justice. Every one of us talked about justice. Let me tell you. Nothing is wrong with Nigeria as a state. Some people claim Nigeria was a country created by British colonial accident. Which country was not created by accident? Britain, which ruled us, was a colony of Rome. Germany, they were all colonies of Rome. They were colonies before they became colonizers. America was a colony of Britain. It's greater than America now. India is overtaking, it's greater than Britain now. India is also overtaking Britain now, economically. We too can overtake them. But what do we need to do? What do we need to do? We do not, the governor elites in Nigeria do not have a common agreement about the future of the country. It's a major problem. The governor elite of Nigeria do not have a common understanding and agreement about the future of the country. In America, all the governance elites agreed about what their future, what their country means for them. Each one of them will defend America until he dies. They sent it with other countries. Here, is it my tribe that I want to follow? Is it my religion that is more important than the state? These are the issues. Tribe, religion, section, the loyalties to these factors have overtaken the loyalty to the nation because there are no agreement among the elites about the future of the country and how they can move together. And that's the point Abdul Rahman was talking about. We need to de-emphasize religion. But the problem in Nigeria today is that religion has taken the upper hand and God has retreated. God has retreated from governance and religion is at the front burner of the governance of Nigeria. Everywhere. Religion, 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 and corruption goes along with it, which is a contradiction. If you're a good Muslim, you shouldn't steal public money. If you're a good Christian, Christianity forbids it. I'm just reading the small book on corruption by Muslims. Wonderful book. Islam forbids corruption. Christianity forbids it. We are still stealing. And talking religion. My religion should be the only governor here. My religion should be the only chairman in this local government. My religion should be this. Okay, all of us, we are fighting for religion. We are not fighting for God. So God has abandoned the stage. Religion is killing us all over the place now. We need wisdom. The governing classes need wisdom. We need wisdom. I come from a family of Muslims and Christians. Everywhere in the Middle Belt, like my sister Eugenia Abu, there's nowhere. My brother's two children, gallant, one an immigration officer, superintendent of immigration. The other one, Fanaya medical student. We are gone down in their house in Gudi. That's religious. One night we went and buried them in July 2019. One night, kidnappers entered the house, just shot them down. We buried them one day. They're all Muslims. See, I have made the point very clear. We who are seated in this hall, we need to make up our mind if we want to defend Nigeria. Let us be consistent in doing so because we believe in the future of the country. You need to stand against state actors and non-state actors and keep pushing. When I was a student leader, there was something I did. I was a very effective student leader. I suffered a lot. But it has taught me a lot as well. I refuse violence. That is what made me to succeed and graduate. We can push to reform Nigeria without violence. When violence comes in, it destroys everything. When I was doing my ministerial screening in 2011, I said something. That time, violence in the north was still localized to north central and the northeast. I said, look, violence is like a fire. when you are angry with the country and you start violence in your community will be consumed. If I start violence in North Central will be consumed before it reaches any other parts of the country. And we say, let us come together and stop this violence. I want to appeal to Nigerian youths. A lot has to be done to reform Nigeria, and I've been a leader since my youth. But we can do it without killing people. We can do it without shooting guns. I studied the method of Mahatma Gandhi against the British. He was a very successful reformer without having to kill people. If we mobilize ourselves today and we agree that we want a change, no government can stop it. It is the capacity to mobilize, to agree, and agree in a direction of change and embrace each other across cultures that will bring change. Once you bring violence, it doesn't work. I've been talking to my friends in the southeast and southwest. When OPC started, I was in Lagos. By the way, I lost my job because of Abiola's election. I stood by him in my writings. That's how I was sacked from my job. We have always stood for justice where anybody's interest is violently attacked. That is what we should do. But when OPC started, I reminded them about the small book I read, Bull and Golda, The Lord of the Flies. If you support violence, it cannot. Look at the Northeast today. Maiduguri used to be a place where every Nigerian goes. You can't go to Borno State now and start an industry. That's why I'm talking about economy. Until we challenge the problem of governance, there will be no economy. Apart from Abuja and its environs, now you can't go to the farm and come back unless you have escort. So the agriculture we're talking about here, the condition for agriculture is peace, security in the countryside. That peace and security has been completely destroyed in the entire North Central zone. When you hear Governor of Nigeria crying on television, and everywhere, go to Nasarawa, go to Kogi, everywhere there is violence. If we do not tackle this violence, how do you develop the economy? How do you develop agriculture in North Central zone? We need to do so. All of us have responsibilities, not just governance. I go home, I speak to my people about the need for peace. I bring them together. Whatever happens, I won't support violence. And we must resolve not to support violence. But we must push for reform. Push for reform. Push for reform to bring about development. Running the economy demands high-level intelligence and patriotism. Prof, let me tell you, we have read a lot. You people are the scholars. I've read all kinds of things about governance, about power. You cite 24 laws. How many laws of power? Machiavelli, all kinds of laws. What I reduce it to is that if you want to be a good leader, you must have love in your chest. You must have love in your chest. If you do not love your country and your people, you can't govern it. You cannot govern it. If you do not love your country and your people and you are prepared to die for them, you can't develop them. And it is lack of love that will make me steal money from my government and go and hide in another man's country. I'm a family head. Can I steal money from my family? Go to my house, my wife's store, food store, and steal it and go and hide in another person's kitchen? That person is using it to feed his wife and his children. Meanwhile, my wife and my family were drying up. That is madness. It's lack of love. If you love your country, I am telling you, go the extra mile to die for it. You will go to bring the best ideas in the world to develop it. You will not tolerate any violence in that country. You will do everything you can to ensure that the country runs well and your people go up. Nigerians are some of the most brilliant people I've seen across the world. Very ebullient, very effective, very up and doing. We need the leadership to come to the level of embracing them. And in this, we need wisdom. We need reform. We need political reform. For example, we cannot continue with a situation where federal government will build roads or will take over everything that, in those days, you see how it is. So, but let me finish by saying this. Nigeria, we need to act to save Nigeria. Some of us believe in this country we will be prepared to die for it, but not in the form it is now. We need to work to change it. It is not the responsibility of government, but all of us. And I thank you, Father, for what you are doing. But please, let's do this in love, not hate anybody. The middle belt or the north central is the belt holding Nigeria together. if we disappear, Nigeria will go in different factions. They won't live together. Let us work hard to show the rest of the country that we can do it, and let us work together to make Nigeria a better country through reforms of governance, of the economy, through justice, standing firm on values. It's easier to criticize when you are outside. When you go into government, you repeat what others are doing. Let's each of us understand that without those sound values that must come from within you, there is no way you yourself can make a change. Thank you for the opportunity. I've not talked to anybody since I left government, but Father drew me out. God bless us, and may this produce part of the effort that will heal our country. Thank you very much indeed.
Amen. Amen. Amen.